Welcome to Ask RePicture's webinar. My name is Becca and I will be the host. Today we're talking to Vince, who has about 5 years experience working with wastewater. So we'll get started by talking about why you decided to do wastewater engineering work.
I think I've always been interested in environmental issues, in particular water and water treatment and wastewater issues. We take water, but we need to do a good job of when we return it to our rivers, lakes, and bays that it's treated and it's not going to contaminate and pollute these natural water bodies that we have. So I think growing up, there was always a concern for how to protect our environment, how to kind of mitigate pollution and ensure that we leave this world, the natural world that we have, in a better place, or just as good of a place as we found it. And so that's something that I was interested in pursuing. I liked engineering and thought I was going to be an engineer because I think I'm pretty analytical and enjoy math and science. But what drew me to environmental engineering in particular, again, is this desire to solve some of these water treatment and kind of pollution mitigation engineering solutions. And so I've seen a lot of benefit that wastewater treatment plants can have in reducing the amount of nutrient pollution that goes into our lakes and bays, and helping to kind of restore and kind of protect a lot of these waterways that we need for recreation, as well as just our own drinking water, and also communities that are down the way from other rivers and other places like that too.
So since that's why you wanted to get into engineering, do you feel like the projects you're working on do address those problems?
Broadly, yes. I think sometimes kind of the day-to-day, an engineer can be very task-oriented and kind of get a particular task done, maybe similar to a student doing homework. I think people go to school with a grand vision of what they're trying to do, but then they realize like the day-to-day is kind of just like banging out kind of specific assignments. But yeah, kind of looking broadly at my career, there have been particular wastewater treatment plant projects that do, in fact, improve the quality of the rivers that they drain into, and then ultimately the Chesapeake Bay. So I do feel confident about the projects I've done. They've been able to reduce the amount of nutrient pollution that's going into the Chesapeake Bay. And then there's also been ways to reduce the amount of biosolids, or kind of solid waste that is removed from the different wastewater treatment plants. So I can see within the work that I have done that there's been very small but incremental change, that I can hang my hat on and feel proud of. I think that you just have to kind of step back and look at the overall project, as opposed to day to day, hour by hour, week by week, the different assignments that you're working towards.
So out of all the projects you worked on so far, do you have a favorite?
I'm not sure if I have a favorite, but I think there's a few that I look back fondly on. I believe that you'd like me to kind of dive into this in more detail. There was a medium size, or I would consider medium size, it was about a 6 MGD wastewater treatment plant for a relatively small town in in a town about 2 hours west of Washington, D.C. And we had done the design for it. I had just been hired, and then we were responsible for doing the CM, or the construction management part of the project. And as a recently hired engineer, I had very little experience dealing with wastewater treatment engineering. I'd taken classes for it, but it was exciting to be brought in within a few months of graduating within my company. And since it was kind of a manageable size, I was involved in working on kind of reviewing shop drawings and submittals, and ensuring that the contractor was building this treatment plant and the various components according to our specifications and our design. Gave me the opportunity to learn about the many different components within a wastewater treatment plant, seeing the very entrance, kind of the headworks, as well as the aerobic digesters, and then kind of the ultimate like final clarification and disinfection too. There's various different systems within a wastewater treatment plant. And within this project I was involved with, I got to have a role and gain knowledge within all of these other places. We had a relatively small team, and I believe that the project was successful. We came in on time and a little bit under budget too, and the client's been very happy with his new treatment plant. So that's one of those projects. I look back fondly. There was some kind of crazy moments, but I think overall the team that we had, and myself included, were able to kind of grasp the challenges and be able to ultimately produce and provide this town, our client, a improved water treatment plant, an improved wastewater treatment system. It provides tertiary treatment, so it's removing more nitrogen and phosphorus into the Shenandoah River, which it flows into. It's also providing Class A biosolids now. Before, the biosolids had to be shipped to a landfill where they were just kind of dumped like any other trash or debris we have into a landfill. Now, these improved biosolids are able to be land applied on farms, and the general public and farmers are now able to visit this site and are able to retrieve some of this very nutrient-rich fertilizer material. So these are kind of two areas that we've been able to improve this community, and that's something I'm proud of.
So while working on projects like this, do you look back on your college classes and think they were helpful?
It's been about 5 years, and so I think with each passing year, kind of your college classes kind of become more and more general. I would say overall, though, I think that my senior year classes are probably the ones that stick out the most to me because they're the most recent one, and they were the ones that were kind of most specialized and attuned to what I was doing. So I would say, I guess in particular, I think, what course was it? Design of civil engineering systems. I had Professor Davis for that course, and he did a good job of explaining kind of all these different components within a water treatment system and a wastewater treatment system. And though he brought all the equations, he did a good job of kind of explaining all these different processes and all these different potential equations. That gave me a good understanding, at least where to retrieve and what to look for. And when I was doing design myself, it was good to have some background knowledge of what to expect and having the resources, my textbooks from school, to be able to retrieve this information from. I also enjoyed my surface water hydrology course and my groundwater hydrology course. They aren't courses, or the knowledge in these courses I don't use particularly within my career, but I do think that it was still beneficial to learn about different water systems. You're never going to, I don't think any college educational course or curriculum is going to specifically teach you everything you need to know. I think one of the benefits of college is to kind of get a broad range of areas within your topic, and I think Maryland did a good job of that.
Are there any classes, like looking back on now, that you wish you did take during college?
I'll have to see the college curriculum and see what courses there were. I would say I was involved with concrete canoe for 1 year before life got a little too crazy, and I would encourage, students to pursue a civil engineering club or an engineering club that benefits and helps them learn more about their particular topic and field, as well as engage with some of their fellow classmates kind of in a more fun social setting. I think maybe to go back, if I could go back, no regrets, but if I were to go back, perhaps that would be advice I would give to other students. I know that within civil engineering, there's concrete canoe and steel bridge. I think some universities do a geo wall as well too. And so I think classes are good, but I also think it's beneficial to branch out outside the classroom and try to get involved another way. What I've noticed is during interviews, it seems like the experiences people have and the growth or leadership that students take on in some of these civil engineering clubs tends to be what is more exciting or kind of brings out more of a personality as opposed to speaking of one's classes. So for me, I think other classmates that I've talked to seem to agree with that as well. So that would be, I guess, one piece of advice I'd give for students right now.
And now kind of switching gears and talking about your job, how would you describe your typical day? If you can.
Sure. Let's see. My typical day or my typical week usually involves, right now I'm doing some design work, usually involves kind of the majority of my day, maybe 50% of my day, kind of working independently on a given assignment. The other quarter to half would be involved with reaching out to my team members, my project manager, sub-consultants, equipment vendors as well. So it's a balance between kind of working independently on a particular task, reaching out for assistance if I need other information from other team members, and then forwarding kind of my end deliverable to my project manager, my supervisors or other clients too for feedback and comments. Right now, I am spending the majority of my time in the office. That's just kind of based off the projects I have, and there isn't any reason for me to be out on site. That being said, I was out on site earlier this morning, but I would say only about 20% of my current work is outside. It depends on the project though and on the client. Some other projects tend in design and kind of in engineering design consulting work, which I'm doing right now, I would say is probably over 75% in general within the office. There's some other projects though, and maybe some other, other clients or other areas where you can have more time. And then if one is really interested in being out in the field, kind of being out of an office, then I would encourage them to look into, again, CM or construction management roles. On the wastewater treatment plant project I spoke about, I was in the office the majority of the time, but I had a team member who was out in the trailers, who was out on site the majority of the time too. And so within civil engineering, you do have the opportunity, if you'd like, to dedicate 90% of your time out into the field or 90% into an office. So there's flexibility, and it depends on an engineer's preference.
What has been the best part of your job so far?
The best part of my job or with my company is, I think, the flexibility and the kind of array of different jobs I've been able to be involved in. For my current company, the past 5 years, I've done the first half of my career, for like 2.5 years, was spent solely on wastewater treatment plant projects and sanitation pumping station projects. I've since moved to the West Coast within my same company, and I've been able to get involved in a variety of other different civil projects. I've done some stormwater design projects. I've done some tunneling work. I've done some water treatment plant projects, and then I've also done some water pipeline and linear infrastructure replacement projects. And so this is all within the civil engineering and I guess water umbrella, kind of water resources and environmental engineering umbrella. But all the projects have been different. They've all had different clients. A lot of them have had different project managers. And so there's been a variety of different work that I've had, which has been exciting. It's always been different. It's always been interesting. There's always been different challenges. Even with the different wastewater treatment plant projects, you're dealing with different clients, different cities, different agencies, different constraints, different limitations. So there's always something new and there's always something new and a new quirk that requires new knowledge and kind of a new way of thinking.
What has surprised you the most about as working as a water engineer?
What surprised me the most about water engineering is the length of the projects, the timeline of the projects. There's multiple reasons, but it seems to have long durations in terms of the approval process, the construction project and the design project. These are multi-year projects. And I think I had a general understanding of that when I came into civil engineering, but as I've been involved and have worked over the years, I've begun to notice that there tends to be delays or issues with funding, and so projects kind of begin to the end date begins to be pushed back month to month, year to year, and that wasn't something. I guess that was kind of something that was new and unexpected. Excuse me. That's something that just kind of, I think, is part of the industry when you're working with a lot of public clients that receive most of their money from, or utilities that have to be accountable to the ratepayers and to kind of local citizens. It's not as fast as a private industry. There's lots of different stakeholders that they need to kind of reach out to, ensure that they get their feedback from. So that will limit the speed at which a project gets done, and that's just kind of currently right now. I wish there was a way to speed it up, but right now I think within the industry, that's just kind of something that one has to expect, that you work on a project and then it gets placed on hold for 6 months, right? Then you have to move on to something else. And then once the project begins to move forward, then you will jump back onto it and make progress on it as well. So that's something that I would encourage people to be aware of.
And do you think there's a type of person who likes being a wastewater engineer? Like, is there a specific type or?
They're a type. It feels like it. I feel like there's a type. You kind of see them. I would say that a kind of a general wastewater engineer would be someone who embodies similar engineering attributes, tends to be enjoy math and science, tends to be pretty rational and analytical, and likes to solve problems. I think that environmental engineers in general, I think, have always been interested, or excuse me, tend to have an interest in outdoors, the environment, tend to enjoy being outdoors and kind of getting their hands dirty. I think a lot of us in the industry enjoy camping and backpacking and seem to have hobbies that require you to be outdoors and, and just kind of be out there. They're not as, I don't know. They enjoy cities. I live in a city and that's good too, but I think there's also kind of a desire to be out in the country and kind of explore like that. I also think that a lot of them too are interested in kind of solving environmental issues. And I think that is what brought them into environmental engineering. I think a lot of environmental engineers wanted to be engineers to begin with, but I think had some desire to solve some of these water or air pollution or similar pollution problems. And that's what drew them to environmental engineering. So I'd say kind of desire, like enjoyment of outdoors and kind of a desire to protect natural resources.
All right, and then switching gears again, when you graduated from college, how did you look for your first job?
I had a general sense of some of the engineering companies that were available. I attended the fall career fair and I applied to the companies. I was strategic about the companies I wanted to apply for. At the career fair, there's a variety of different engineering firms that are there, structural, geotechnical, and I just focused on, I did my homework and research beforehand and focused my attention on the engineering firms that did wastewater and sanitation and kind of water treatment engineering. Focused on those. I knew personally I wanted to work for a private company as opposed to a public utility or a local municipality, and so that helped narrow the job opportunities for me too. The job in particular, I spoke to, the company I work for currently in the fall of my senior year. They came to Maryland and the office manager gave a presentation for Maryland students. And I was very intrigued on I was interested in the company and I enjoyed his presentation. He talked about several of the wastewater treatment plant projects that he has worked on over the course of his year within the Maryland area. And I was genuinely interested in the work that he was doing. And so I came up and introduced myself to him afterwards, shook his hand and did my best to catch his attention and hopefully help him remember who I am. And a few days after, they posted a job opportunity on Maryland's career job board. So I applied for that and was able to kind of work my way up towards a full-time position with the company. So the project manager did not interview me, but he came in for the interview, the office manager who gave the presentation didn't interview me for the entire time, but he came in for a little bit. So I think that was beneficial to attend the meetings, introduce myself to him, and then apply as well. So in terms of advice for other students looking to get a job, I'd say whenever companies come on site, spend 5 minutes researching the company and see if it's something you're interested in. If it is in a field you're interested in, I would encourage you to attend the meeting with the free pizza. Don't worry about the pizza, but go up and talk to the engineers and the main people that are there as well. Introduce yourself to them, express your interest to them, bring your resume if they are looking for interns and full-time positions, and start that conversation, start that relationship. I would also say the same thing as well with career fairs too. I find person-to-person interaction is a much easier way to get in the door and kind of get your name out there, as opposed to distributing resumes to their websites and to job boards. It's much more competitive that way. If they can put a name and a face and see the initiative, and hopefully you present yourself in a positive light and kind of make a good impression, I think, again, that's a very easy way. There's very little kind of effort. Just once you get your foot in the door, develop your resume, having a conversation, I think, is a great way to distinguish you from other people. So that would be my advice for students looking for internships and full-time jobs.
Do you have any like general advice for engineering students, just about like maybe what to expect once they graduate, what it's like to be working as an engineer?
The advice I heard, which I think is beneficial, is that every company has a holiday party, has a summer picnic, and has some kind of volunteer opportunity. My office has a backpacking drive, has a school backpack drive every August, and so I would encourage engineers or any student to step up to the plate and take initiative and offer to spearhead one of these activities. It's outside of kind of the scope of work, but it's a great way to, one, show that you kind of care about the company. Two, it allows you to engage with people that you would not be working with usually on your daily basis. I think an entry-level engineer will spend the majority of their time coordinating with their project manager as well as some of their team members, but offering to volunteer and kind of lead a holiday party or a summer picnic will allow you to meet with your office manager and probably some of the other senior leaders within your company. If you do a great job, it reflects very positively on you. And if it doesn't go so well, it's a low risk opportunity as opposed to a real project. Let me think the other thing. And then also, they're always looking for people. These are opportunities that usually most people are too busy or not interested in working on. People, as people get older, they tend to have families and more obligations. A recent hire, in general, would have more freedom in their schedule. You kind of your typical recent graduate, 22, 23-year-old. And so I would encourage recent hires to kind of step up to the plate, take initiative, and find ways to engage with their overall office outside of, do a great job with your work, obviously, but try to go above and beyond through one of these more social parts of your work. In terms of your work, in terms of doing engineering work, I think it goes without saying that one needs to kind of be assertive and like assert themselves and be proactive and do what they can to kind of go above and beyond, kind of take their project, take what's been assigned to them, try to complete it ahead of time, try to kind of do more that's been asked of you, anticipate what your manager or your team members are looking for, and be a positive, exciting, energetic person to work for. I think these are kind of general skill sets that you need to have to be successful within college as well. So if you're succeeding in college, kind of take those responsibilities and take them into the workforce too.
All right, those are all my questions. So unless there's something else you want to add, I think we're done.